You're watching Next Pitch, the student athlete playbook for parents raising tomorrow's athletes.
Hi, my name's Anthony Leveritz, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and I am joined by Hannah Huesman of Mental Sweat. Hannah is a mental performance coach, has worked in high-level athletics, former player herself, also works in high-level athletics, works in corporate America, and has been kind enough to join us here to have a discussion about 18 different topics related to mental performance. Hannah, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Heck yeah. Thanks for having me.
Maybe I'll tell you this story in the next episode we do, but it has to do with my son. So remind me about what he thinks about your content versus mine. So it's a pretty funny story, but maybe not for this show. We last talked about stress.
Yes.
Both stress as an athlete, stress in the workplace, how to manage that. And I think this next episode here that we're going to do today is a great follow-up to that. And the topic is mindfulness and meditation. And obviously a huge topic for today. We talk about this at my house all the time. What mindfulness for us when we were kids is just what we did. We were outside playing and doing stuff all the time. Now it has to be for young people. It has to be intentional about finding time for mindfulness. Yeah. So obviously a big topic for parents in today's world. How do you talk about mindfulness to young people, to their families? What is that topic of conversation? How do you begin that conversation?
Yeah. Oh, I love this topic first and foremost because I think it's a buzzword right now in the mental performance sports psychology world. But I also think it's so important. And if you use it well and you use it correctly, it can have an incredible impact on not only your performance, but like who you are as a human being and your overall just like zest for life and de-stressing and enjoying more and all of those things. So big proponent of like think mindfulness is absolutely amazing and you need it. So what is it? Right. I think at first you have to destigmatize it and also like it's talk about what it is. So a lot of people think, okay, mindfulness meditation, I got to be in a dark room, sitting crisscross applesauce, right? With my fingers like this, like doing
Aaron Rodgers' dark room. That's not where we're going here.
Doesn't have to be. So it can in like very extreme. If you can't focus, if you can't do it and you have to have that, it can. But it can also be while you're driving. It can be while you're doing the dishes. It could be while you're taking a shower. It could be quiet time in the morning. It could be any way, shape, or form that it fits into your life. So mindfulness is literally the definition. You can look it up is paying attention in the present moment non-judgmentally. Okay, so that's 3 parts. One is paying attention. Right? So you can't be distracted. You have to be completely locked in. So paying attention in the present moment. So you're paying attention to, like you said, like as you were kids, you just go outside and you're there, right? So you're paying attention to whatever's right in front of you. And then the third part, and probably the most important part, is you're doing it non-judgmentally. So if you're just sitting there, if you choose to do it in silence and you're just paying attention to what's going on in front of you, and then your mind starts to drift, which it naturally will, right? Or you get distracted, or you hear something and your brain goes 100 miles an hour in the other direction. You can't be like, dang it, like I'm horrible at this, right? It's like, hey, it's okay. You kind of went over there, now bring it back. Bring it back. So it really, really is at its core focusing on what's right in front of you. There's a great graphic out there. You can look it up. It's mindful versus mindful. And it's a picture of a human and a dog walking. It's one of my favorite that I use on most presentations that I do. And it's like, one of them has a thought bubble coming out of the dog's head, right? And all it sees is the human and the dog on the walk with the sun and the trees, right? And so the dog is being very mindful. And then the thought bubble on the human's head is cooking, grocery store, kids, test, paper, doll, all these things. Basically everything except what's right in front of them. Oh. And it's such a like intense picture that you're like, it's so true, right? Like when you have these incredible moments right in front of you, our brain is 100 miles an hour in every other direction except what's right in front of you. And the cheesy old quote is, right, the present is a gift to you, right? The present, like what the moment you're in. And I talk about this all the time. If there's anything you can do as a high level performer, it's get into the present moment, because if you are thinking about what already happened or you're worrying about what's going to happen, you're going to miss out on the thing that's right in front of you. But in today's society where attention spans are lacking, which we've talked about, where stress is high, comparison is high, all these things, the phone, the social media, it's constantly pulling you out of this moment right here. And that's such a disservice when it comes to high performance, that we have to start creating awareness around it, and we have to start practicing it, right? Okay, great. We have all these distractions and all these things happening. Who cares, right? That's all of our excuses. What are you doing on a daily basis to lock in? And the coolest part about this is the guys who take this so seriously. When I was working with the Phillies, a whole spring training, the theme was literally mindfulness. I taught mindfulness probably 30 different ways, right? It was the theme. It was how can we, because it relates to everybody, all these things. But the guys who took it so seriously, it became embedded in who they were and who they are, because they saw so much benefit from it, and at peace and enjoying more, all of the benefits that come from it. Like, I just want to shake everybody and say, you have to do this. You have to practice mindfulness. And it doesn't have to be this elaborate, crazy guru thing. It can literally just be on your car ride home, put the windows down, feel the breeze in your face, listen to the actual words of the song on the radio instead of like, la, 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 right? Like, instead of not knowing what it is, and pay attention to what's going on right in front of you. Like, that's all it really has to be. And it can have massive impact.
Let's pretend that you're my parent and I'm a potentially high performing athlete, and maybe even I'm not high performing. I say that I want to be good at something,
Yeah.
but all I do is I stare at my phone
Yeah.
all the time when I'm on, and I have a hard time with my concentration.
Yeah.
How do you have that conversation with me? How do you, because this is a difficult, I promise you, raising teens and having the conversation is, even if we don't use the word mindfulness, it's what we're talking about. Like,
Right.
get off your damn phone, right? Like, do something else. It's hurting your brain. The science is showing us that it is. How do you do that without creating an argument, or less of an argument? Maybe it's going to be an argument, but
Yeah.
it's going to resonate with that kid. How do you have that conversation?
Yeah, great question. I don't know that I know the answer, but I think the first thing that popped into my head, I just wrote it down, is, and obviously this this is a deep question, but it doesn't even have to be that deep. It can just be in casual, like, or maybe the topic gets brought up and things start to get heated, and you're like, hey, serious question. What are the most important things in life? Like, what are the most important things in life? And again, like, if your kid's 12, they might not have the concept of understanding this, but if they're 15, 16, 17, like, you're really starting to like think about life and life's meaning and purpose, all that good stuff. Like, what's the most important thing? Then you come up with like family, right? Relationships, maybe work ethic, like being passionate about something, like, your purpose, your why, all of those things. And it's like, okay, do our actions line up with that? And what, how are we making time for those most important things in our life, right? Like, my husband and I joke all the time. We have a almost 10-month-old, and we're like, no phones at the table, right? But we've said that when we were even dating, because we both grew up in homes where no cell phones were allowed at the dinner table. And some of my most fun, hilarious, goofy memories from growing up are at the dinner table.
Yeah.
And like, there were no distractions. So it's like, how do you set those barriers barriers up to where it's like, if your friends come over, no phones. If they don't want to have no phones at the table, then they don't have to come over, right? But like, I think you have to play the long game and remember that they just don't have the perspective when they're super young. But start the conversation, understand, like, how do you help them see that too much is damaging? Like, it doesn't have to be 0 to 100, right? Like, okay, sure, have it here and have it there, and like, you need it at school, whatever, but like, make sure it's not soul sucking. And like, I think if you ask any teenager, like, you're like, hey, would you say you're on your phone too much? They're not going to say no. Like, they're going to probably be like, it's a lot, right? Like, and my final argument would be, okay, there was an article, I need to find it, but it was talking about how the next generation has grown up on screens, right? And it's actually a really scary thought, right? You got the kids on the iPads, on the phones, on the computers, on the game screens, on the TV, like, they just bounce from one to another, to the point where they never really have to form their own thought, because they're constantly being told what to think, how to feel, how to regulate. And the reality of it is, they are so out of touch on who they are. especially when they're under stressful situations. That, let's say you go out in the game, you strike out, you make an error, whatever happens, you come out, you're mad, you have no way to regulate your emotions because you've never really had to deal with your emotions. Like you don't even know what your emotions are. You don't know if you're like a funny go lucky, happy go lucky, if you're serious, like you have no clue because you're just a robot and being told what to do constantly. And so it's like you have to allow quiet time, uninterrupted time of like just sitting with your thoughts, which is scary because sometimes our thoughts aren't great, right? And sometimes they're not exactly what we would want them to be. They're not picture perfect, but they're not supposed to be. Like the whole point is like let your mind go, see where it goes, and then be able to navigate it and control it almost in the way you want and that you need in order to be productive, if that makes sense.
So my apologies to my producer in Odyssey Sports, but this episode's going to be longer than what I first intended. So there's just a bunch of stuff that I'm thinking about now.
Yeah.
So we talked in our last episode about stress. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about phones and mindfulness and its importance. But now let's talk about it in the stress world. So I'm stressed as an athlete. What I see with having coached youth sports and been around athletes most of my life, in today's world, we get stressed, we go straight to our phone. We get bored, we go straight to our phone.
Totally.
That does not relieve stress.
No.
So how it is. And so how do we use this mindfulness, meditation, whatever terminology or techniques that you have to help a young person who is maybe not crippled by stress, but feels stress and immediately runs away from it, but that isn't going to help their performance? What is that conversation and the importance of that?
Yeah, I think great question. I think especially when things are heightened and if it's around something that's important, whether it's family stuff, work stuff, or performance stuff, like I really challenge people to sit in that. Sit in it. Like if you're mad, go be mad, go sit in the locker room, maybe take 5 extra minutes to be in the locker room before you go out and see family, before you rush and pick up your phone, whatever it is. And just like think about what made me so mad? Why am I so mad? Why am I so emotional? What's going on? What is this visceral reaction I'm having? And like in a perfect world, you're writing it down, right? You have a little journal and you're just jotting it down because you're getting everything that's up here down on paper, because that's another form of processing. But slow down, right? Instead of like, I don't want to talk about it, right? That's dangerous, right? That's the old Coke bottle theory, right? Where you like never really process and it just builds and builds and builds. Well, the reality of it is you're like slowly chipping away at who you are, right? And like whether you think you're wearing it or not, if you don't fully process something, you're wearing it, right? And it's like, imagine like Santa Claus, right? You have a big sack, like you carry all these presents and you just like keep putting stuff in there, keep putting stuff in there. Next thing you know, you can't even move, right? And like I've known grown adult men who are crying because they can't take it anymore. I'm like breaking down, like can't even breathe because of all the stress, because they haven't processed any of it. Like it's actually pretty dangerous. And if you think about performance, right? One of our cliche terms is you got to stay neutral, right? Come back to neutral, come back to the center. Well, how are you doing that on a daily basis, right? If you start at 0 and then you have a bad performance, now you're at -2, right? If at the end of that day, you don't reset, process, think about it, and then get yourself back to 0, that means the next day you're starting at -2. Great. Let's say you have another bad day. Great. Now we're at -4. So instead of like a lot of times we talk about you want to minimize highs and lows, right? You want to keep them pretty consistent. Next thing you know, we're high highs and super low lows. And it's like nobody can handle that type of emotional just irregularity, right? All over the place. And it's exhausting on you. And that's where you get burnout. That's where all of a sudden you don't like the sport anymore. You hate your coaches, you hate your parents, you hate your teammates, and everything just so much because I haven't had time to process it. And instead, I'm just going to run to my phone, watch TikTok for an hour and a half and fall asleep. It's a crippling ripple effect that you just have to kind of going back to what we were talking about in the last one about sitting in the uncomfortableness, right? If you're going to be a high performer, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's such a cliche saying, again, in the sports psych world, but like, it's not a comfortable feeling thinking about your stress, thinking about your failure, processing your anger, or you're just like high, mad emotions, like, which like we'll talk about emotional regulation next, but it's like emotions are real and raw, and that's okay. But if you ignore it and don't process it, like you are just digging the hole, man. And it can get to a really scary place where like, and then the parents are like, we can't even touch you with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
It's like you're going to explode. And again, that's hard. So as parents, I'm thinking, are you showing examples of you practicing mindfulness? Do you carry your phone all around? I think about it all the time with my 10-month-old baby. I'm like, put your phone away. I don't even want her to see that I'm on it. Right. It's like, I don't want her to be an iPad kid, but am I an iPad kid? You know, like it's real. And so if you really want them to start practicing it, preach it and do it and act it. Like that's the only way I think they're really going to see it and value. And then they're going to go over to Sally Joe's friend's house and be like, Sally Joe's parents were on their phone all night. And you're going to be like, that's whatever they want to do. Right. But then they start to notice and pick up on other things. And what's going to be really cool is the day that they realize, wow, so-and-so, you can tell that they don't have a lot of mindfulness time because they just react and are really angry and are like emotions are bottled up instead of processing it and responding and knowing how to handle it. And that's going to be a really cool moment, but so important.
I have another question before we move on to the second part of this. So you've talked a lot about in our first couple interviews that we did, and then the beginning of this series of practicing and preparing for a moment, right? So in a game situation that you know is going to be stressful as a coach, having plan and preparation for those types of things. We're getting, we have kids that are stressed. I see more and more and more. And we've kids that are getting stressed on a game day because of fear of what you just talked about, of the bad performance or the loss or what's going to come. How long in advance of a competition should we begin that mindfulness training and that concentrating on what we're about to do to give ourselves the best chance to be prepared to do and give our best performance?
Yeah. I think that's a great question. And I was actually going to say, when you watch any professional sports, LeBron James is really good at this. When you watch pitchers and you see them taking a deep breath, right, to reset, whether they're on the bench or in the dugout or right before an at bat, whatever it is, when you see them take a deep breath, that's them practicing mindfulness, right? That's them saying, this moment is big. I need to be right here. I need to be where my feet are. I need to concentrate on what's happening right in front of me. I need to shut out the noise, clear the mechanism. Anybody? Well, you kids won't
go.
Get that
Good one.
But like that's their way of practicing mindfulness in the heat of the moment. So, right, this is getting to your question is you have to practice mindfulness. You could practice mindfulness as you wind down to go to bed. It can help you sleep, clear your mind. Instead of falling asleep on your phone, fall asleep breathing, listening to your thoughts, like clearing the mind. Like think about that. If your mind is racing so much at night, which a lot of ours are, right? That's why we can't sleep at night. Everybody, right? Everybody I talk to.
That's me.
If you can practice mindfulness at night and you can quiet your mind at night, which is arguably one of the hardest times to quiet your mind, can you do it during a game? Can you do it during a high pressure situation, right? Instead of like putting a Band-Aid on it at night or distracting yourself with TV or social media or whatever it is, practice clearing it, practice listening to it, processing it, what's going on, getting a clear head, and then being able to fall asleep. The same thing's going to happen when you're in a game, right? When thoughts are going rampant and they're typically negative and not helpful, right, to our performance. If you can quiet them, if you can listen to them, quiet them, understand them, and move on faster, you're going to have an advantage over your competitor. And so it really is like, practice at night, practice first thing in the morning, set your tone, right? When you go outside and you feel the sunshine hit your face, stop for 30 seconds and just bask in it for a second instead of like immediately grab your phone. Wow, it feels so good. Grab your phone, right? It's like, wow, it feels so good out here. Like, I'm just going to enjoy the sunshine on my face. Take a deep breath. Like, it sounds crazy, but we've all done it, right? Like, you've all walked outside and been like, dang, what a beautiful day. Stop. Be in that day for 2 minutes. Right? Or you get in the car and your favorite song's on the radio. Maybe don't put it in reverse yet. Maybe just sit there and listen to the song, right? Or when you take a shower and the water is just the perfect temperature and like, that's why we have our best thoughts in the shower, right? Like it's a running joke, but it's because we have zero distractions. Like, hello. And you're fully in the heat of the moment. And all of a sudden you have this brilliant, groundbreaking idea. So it's like, really look for those moments. And you can argue you can create them too, right? If you're like, man, I'm just distracted. I'm worked. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I'm going to go outside and feel the sunshine for a minute. Bam, that's mindfulness. Like that's incredible. And so it's like, don't wait for those moments to find you. Like go find them, go create them, right? Go listen, go have a little dance party if that's your thing. Go call up your best friend for 3 minutes if that's your thing. Like whatever it is, start creating attention. And then so it doesn't have to be a specific time during the day now. And then you can do it right before game time, right? If that's part of your practice, then you can create a 2 to 3 minute little or 5 to 10 minute little mindfulness script that you do right before a game. But if the only time you do it is right before the game, it's not going to have the benefit you want, right? It's got to be before you go to sleep, when you wake up, moments throughout the day, right? It's got to be part of your everyday life to really have an impact.
It's the common theme here, right? That you keep talking about, and I love, is that these things aren't one-offs. They are practiced habits that will grow and develop. As you practice them, you'll get better at it and have better outcomes based on how much you practice.
Just like every physical skill.
Yeah.
Just like it.
Well, honestly, we could talk about this for hours, but I want to move into the workplace.
Yeah.
Stress is something that impacts young people, middle-aged people, old people. We all experience it. And then get to the workplace. How do you talk about, when you get in front of an organization, using mindfulness to combat that negative feeling that comes from work, from what's happening to me at work? How does this translate to the workplace?
Yeah, I think super similar, right? Like there's nothing cookie cutter about it, right? It doesn't have to be what everybody else is doing. You don't have to find a quiet room to go do it, right? You can do it sitting at your office. You can do it on your car ride in. You can do it when you get home, right? You can do it after a tough meeting, right? You can do it during a tough meeting, right? I used to joke all the time when I was presenting, and you could even joke right now on this podcast on people listening. Are you listening to this podcast and cleaning the house at the same time? Like, are you barely getting any of it? Which, like, if time is of the essence, I get it. We have to do that in certain instances. But a lot of us can only focus on one thing at a time, like genuinely to really take it in. So like, if you're listening to this podcast, could you go sit down? Could you go sit down for the remainder of this podcast? I don't know. There's probably less than 5 minutes left. Could you go sit down and just listen, put your phone down and just like either close your eyes or stare at a dot on the ground or whatever, and just listen to what's going on right in front of you? And so I think it's all just a matter of, it doesn't have to be this elaborate thing. It can fit into your world however you need it to, but you got to do it. You got to do it, or you're going to be burnt out and miserable and so out of touch with yourself and who you are that you're never going to be the best version of you. And again, this is all surrounded by high performance, right? And performing to the best of your ability. And the only way you can do that is if you know yourself really well. And the only way you can know yourself really well is by practicing mindfulness.
When you're talking to leaders of people, in whether coaches that are coaching high level teams or executives in corporate America, what do you recommend to them for them to implement this in some way, shape, or form, encourage it in some way, shape, or form to their people? Is there anything that you've brought to the table in that sense?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, you can get an app, right? So with Major League Baseball, we have a relationship with Headspace, and it's an app. And so like, if you're a big corporation, you could get a mindfulness app subscription, right? And give it to everybody, right? Like corporate subscription, not like get one and share it illegally. But you could do that. You could have time during the day where you're like, hey, 12 to 1 is a no work zone, or a mindfulness time zone. Or maybe you have spaces in the office where it's like, hey, here's a mindfulness room. It's dark, it's quiet. Feel free to help yourself throughout the day, right? Or just understanding and promoting it, right? Like just talking about it, even just saying, like, had an unbelievable mindfulness experience this morning. Does anybody do that, right? Like, again, kind of just preaching, practice what you preach, and setting the example, and also not stigmatizing it. Like, I think, and we haven't talked about that yet, but a lot of times, especially in the professional sports world, people have jokes to say about mental performance, right? Oh, so-and-so needs your help here, or I don't need that, right? And it's like a little stigmatized, when the reality of it is like, you got to be really careful how you talk about this, like, because it's clearly important and it's clearly a skill. And some people have the skills, and some people are working really, really, really hard to gain the skills, and some people don't have them at all. And so it's just understanding people are going to be at all different levels of this, just like they are from physical skills. and to just understand and meet people where they're at when it comes to it. But I think you just normalize it and then create opportunities, whether it's space, whether it's an app, whether you read a cool article about it, whether you see somebody in sports doing something amazing, aka breathing, like in high stress, high pressure situations, like share that and share like, wow, there's got to be something to it if so-and-so is doing it on the highest stage, So why
Yeah.
can't we?
Yeah, I think it's critical too. And every company wants a great culture, right? We talk about this all the time in my other company with the organizations that we work with. And if you, as a leader, as a group of leaders, tell your people that they're important to you, not just the job they're doing, but the way that they feel about the job that they're doing, and give them the tools and help them to feel better about themselves, and they know that you care about them, you're going to have a much better space for your employees to work, which is going to lead to more productive people, but better product, better revenue, all of those things, happier employees. Take that time as a leader to make sure they know that this is important to you, that you care about them.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes a long way. Just conversations with the people, not just the performer, go a long way.
Well, Hannah, this has been great. Again, we could probably dive into this for hours. Our producer would get mad at us if we did that, though. So we're going to sign off and continue this conversation about another topic next time. Tell people how they find you. Your information is so relevant, and you distill it down into such great learnable bits. How do people find you?
Well, not that we spent the whole episode talking about getting off social media, but on social media, I'm on there. I'm definitely on there less, I will say, than I used to be. But Hannah Huesman on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and even my website. You can reach out and ask questions or tell us you heard the podcast.
Yeah, and please, follow Next Pitch, rate us, like us. We appreciate it. It helps us grow and trying to get this message out to as many people as we possibly can. Hannah, until next time, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.